Are you listening?
And you know, all this conversation around Google Stadia is kind of a perfect segue to our guest for this week, who is one of the OG content creators for the Google Stadia platform. So without further ado, I would like to welcome to the show the leader of Rokk Nation, R-O-K-K himself. Rokk, thank you so much for joining us this week.
I'm glad you spelled it out, because the amount of people that just get it completely wrong. I mean, it's only 4 letters. What the heck can go wrong with that?
I wanted to bring you on because I feel like you're someone who has been in the Stadia community since day one, and if it's not day one, it's pretty damn close. Tell everybody who's watching, if they haven't heard of you, what type of content are you producing? What are you doing over on YouTube?
So, I mean, I'm a bit of an anomaly, to be fair, because most people that create content for Stadia, it tends to be game streaming stuff or amazing news, production, quality, level, brilliant Hollywood stuff like you do. Whereas I'm just an experimenter. I'm just a bored old man that couldn't afford a Harley Davidson and thought, I know what I'll do to get hip with the chicks. I'll just create a channel. But you're right. I was a founder back in 2019, and it just coincided really with me getting pneumonia, one, and I just, and I've always been a frustrated voiceover artist, to be fair with you, right? So Stadia came out, I fell in love with it immediately. I'd been a massive ambassador for cloud gaming on the quiet, because nobody would listen to me anyway. And I started doing audio podcasts, thinking this is a subject that I could talk somewhat on. And it kind of snowballed. And then I got involved with other people's shows. And so I've done a mix and match. I do guest-based shows, talk shows, podcasts. I do some news stuff. I do the occasional stream. But underlining it all really is a passion for cloud gaming and fun. I can't do anything that's straight. I'm a dad joker at heart.
I'm curious, as someone who's kind of been an ambassador for cloud gaming, what's your overall impression on kind of what's going on with the industry?
Well, I mean, it's since 2019, it has exploded. I mean, all the kind of the current crop of, maybe with the exception of Amazon, were around at that point. But, the tide's risen and it's taken all the ships as well. And what we've seen, I think, is a much more general acceptance that actually there is that option. It's, that sort of third option beyond PCs and consoles. Actually, yeah, it's a viable option. And, the early days prior to Stadia, it had a pretty bad rap. And we had PS Now, we had OnLive, but they weren't great. They were laggy and the frame rates weren't brilliant and the quality was kind of sub 720. So people's takeaway of the quality of cloud was And then Stadia stepped up to the plate and said, you know what, we can do 4K, we can do HDR, we can do 5.1. Did they deliver on that? To a greater or lesser degree, for sure. And then GFN, NVIDIA GeForce Now, came along and said, yeah, and we can provide another business model as well. And we're going to take it up another gear technically. So all the PC gamers, the kind of diehard sweaties, as we used to call them in the 1950s, they were like, yeah, this is kind of the quality now that I can play with. And in another world, in ILR, I think, IRL, that's the one that you kids use. I'm an ambassador for a college that has an esports course and a university that's just starting an esports course. And it's interesting to see how the people on that course are going, yeah, cloud's kind of getting there, and I've got Stadia or I've got GeForce Now. So it's the right time in the right place, by my estimation.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, just that generational change as well, because it's something we've talked about on this channel a lot, is that first generation of gamers were very much PC, mouse and keyboard, and then you kind of went into the arcades, and then it was the home consoles and controllers. And when you look in there, you have a generation of gamers who are like, we have to have mouse and keyboards. Then you have that next generation that's like, hey man, I'm a controller gamer. And I think I categorize myself in that generation. And then you have that next generation of gamers that are coming up right now, that touchscreen mobile play. It's everything they know. And I think that that's going to be interesting, not just from a cloud perspective, but also from an esports perspective, is that barrier of entry is just going to get lower and lower and lower as we kind of continue.
And we see it in India. And as you know, and I know you've said this yourself in the past, you've got an entire country that's predominantly mobile gaming and amazingly esports on mobile devices as well. Some amazing quality gamers out there. So yeah, I think there are so many different ways to play and different platforms to play on now that it's kind of foolhardy to say, oh, I'm a PC gamer or I'm an Xbox or a PlayStation gamer. You're a gamer, and it's like when certainly when I was growing up, and I'm sure the same for you as well, Brian. TV consisted of a few channels and whatever was being broadcast, and you just turned up and watched it. And you may have been more into sports or more into soaps or what have you, and you chose your favorite channel. But now streaming, we can choose whatever we want and watch what we want and where we want on our mobile device. Gaming's no great difference. You literally, what's important to us is gaming, and where we play it and how we play it and what we play. That's an individual choice, and it's really not one against the other.
Now, I'm curious, with kind of you having a watchful eye over everything, who's doing stuff that you like, who's doing stuff that you don't like?
To be honest with you, I like what everyone's doing, and they've all got a slightly different angle, which is fascinating. I haven't been able to play on Amazon Luna because at the time of writing, it hasn't been released in outside of the US, but times are a coming and a changing.
So one good thing that us Americans have going for us. So
you got your Luna. Look, it's coming soon, I'm sure of it. And there's waves out there. I'm feeling the vibes. But I love what they're doing, and I like the idea of having that kind of McDonald's Happy Meal version with Prime, and then you get a little play and you can go off and maybe pay a bit more. Xbox, they pushed hard on Xbox Cloud Gaming, originally called xCloud, of course, and that's getting better and better and better. And now nearly every game that they're releasing under the Game Pass banner has a cloud version. Of course, in the days to come, PlayStation are rebranding and reimagining the PlayStation Plus and the PS Now. Now, I always thought, actually, for the last couple of years, PS Now has been really good, but it's been seen as the kind of, forgotten child. Nobody's that. But, we remember when it wasn't good. It's good now, and I think that my feeling is that they're about to ramp that quality up again another notch. Stadia is interesting because they don't say anything. We haven't got a clue what Stadia are thinking until they do it. And I always say, I know the bulk of what I do is Stadia content, but that's because I love the Stadia community. I don't have any allegiance or affiliation with Stadia themselves. And we all have our own gripes and things that we wish they would do differently and better. NVIDIA are a great bunch of guys. I'm an ambassador with them, with GeForce Now. Their 3080 tier is mind-blowingly good on a technical level. Doesn't have, for my money, the kind of fluidity of Stadia. Stadia really, for me, is perfect casual gamer material. You just press a button, you're on, you choose your game, you play it. Whereas it's a little bit more clunky, a bit more PC-like with NVIDIA. But I love what those guys are pushing boundaries as well. And there are others on the fringes. Nobody really knows who's going to end up as the superior player. But the key thing is there's choice in there. There's some you can buy games and play them, some you pay for them elsewhere and play them, just whatever really takes your fancy.
Yeah, it's interesting. Occasionally people will be in the comment section being like, oh, I want to see a video of comparing GeForce Now with Stadia or Xbox Cloud with Stadia. And it's tough because, as you mentioned, it's different flavors, right? If you go into an ice cream shop and you try strawberry versus vanilla, you're talking about two kind of different things. And I think cloud gaming is very much in that same spectrum of that. Stadia is kind of offering that free console, and GeForce Now is offering its free console, but you have to buy games on other platforms. And it's like everybody is doing something differently. And I'm really wishing I had a time machine that I could literally jump 5 years into the future just to see where it all lands, because it's going to be fascinating. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts. 5 years from now, where do you think this is all going to be?
Well, I think Stadia really have been feeling their way from day one. They're a tech company. They bought the codec and didn't really know initially. They bought it for YouTube and thought, actually, this codec's pretty amazing. out of that came game streaming and their other cloud-based services, and they've sort of been feeling their way. NVIDIA have gone, hey, let's just try and find a way to get on the rump of PC gamers and do deals whereby we provide a streaming service, which they subscribe to as a la PC in the cloud, and then you buy a gift. So everyone's trying different things. A lot of people kind of, you get the whole, there's a constant typhoon around Stadia of, one day it's dead, one day it's alive, one day it's on its last legs, the next day it's second coming. But my personal feeling is Google are heavily invested in cloud services. And if you look at their financial revenue, it's the most buoyant aspect now of what they do. So, they ain't dropping that ball anytime soon. And they may not give the same love to Google Stadia that they maybe envisaged giving it at the early days. But there's still a lot of development taking place. So I think it's there for the long haul personally. And as I've said, I think their market really is the casual gamer. It's not somebody who probably even watches a bulk of the content that I put out. It's my brother he's a great example. So he works during the day, gets home, he fancies 10 minutes before dinner. He fires it up, it's quick enough that he can do that, and then he puts the controller down and he goes and has his beans on toast. That's it. He's a casual gamer. He doesn't care what's latest game, the latest AAA from Epic, or whether he can get to 400 level on Fortnite. That's not his thing. But there's a lot of people, a lot of vocal people that think that's what it should be, and I think that Google at this moment have to be fairly quiet because they don't want to upset those people. But equally, that's not really the market that they're aiming for.
I agree, and this is just how my brain is working right now. Beans on toast.
So it's toast with beans.
Any special type of beans? Or just
it's beans in tomato sauce. One of the Heinz 56 varieties. It'll be usually a thick slice white loaf with copious amounts of butter. So you heat your beans, you put them on the toast, grated cheese on top.
All right. So, Rokk, the other question I have for you is the reason you and I kind of got into contact was you have a big charity event coming up in the next month, and I'm really interested in this. So, can you explain to me what you're going to be doing?
Yeah, sure. So, I did this last year for a month. Now, I know when a lot of streamers do charity stuff, they do 24-hour binges. I'm too old for that, my friend.
It's terrible. I've done 24 hours.
If I was to do 24 hours, they'd be scraping me off the floor and hanging me out to dry. So what I'm going to do instead, which is what I did last year, is just a big month of promotion for the charity. The charity changed their name actually during COVID. They used to be called Click Sargent, which stood for Cancer and Leukemia in Children. And there were two charities, they were both formed in the late 60s, early 70s. One was named after the founding gentleman, Sargent, and the other one was formed around the death of the founding fellow's son, who was 11 when he died. It's something that's close to my heart. I lost my best friend 25 years ago, and somebody very, very close in the family is still recovering from cancer. The thing I love about these guys, they renamed themselves to Young Lives versus Cancer. So they had a kind of re-look at the whole brand and thought, what we're missing here? We're kind of this big corporate charity, but we're missing the fact that we deal with young people, and they renamed themselves. A lot of what they do in terms of raising funding is around the sorts of activities that you will find young people involved in, hence game streaming. They do things like they provide support for young people and families. They help with financial costs. They help with accommodation. They put nurses in there, do emotional support, making sure that there's communication in place for children and their friends, because oftentimes there'll be a great distance travel for treatment, bereavement support, and then obviously campaigning for policy changes at government level. So they're not one of those charities that think they're going to cure cancer, which always bites me a bit because there are big enough pharmaceutical companies that are taking a slice of that. These guys are doing the kind of day-to-day support stuff, and it's for young people, which is very close to my heart.
I look forward to kind of jumping into some of your charity streams you're going to be doing in the upcoming month, and I do want to tell you that we don't make a ton of money here on the show, but I would like to give you at least $50 going directly to your charity.
Kind.
So once that charity link opens up and the first stream comes in, I'll jump in, I'll drop it. But you, sir, are a very kind individual. I've appreciated your support throughout the years, and I wish you all the success with this upcoming charity stream.
Same, my friend. All the best.
If people want to find more information about you, where should they go?
Well, I'm omnipresent on Twitter. In fact, if you send me a DM or a tweet, you will get a 5-second response.
I noticed that. I was going to applaud you on that. Yeah.
I know. Elon Musk has put a chip in my head. I can't escape. It's terrible. So you can find me there at Rokk Show, ROKK Show. Also on YouTube at Rokks, ROKKS. That's the channel. I'm on Twitch as Rokk Show, and any of the platforms literally as Rokk, ROKK. And please look me up. I really enjoy having you there.
Hey, thanks again for checking out our channel. If you like what you saw and you want to see more content just like it, which who wouldn't, hit the subscribe button right there. And while you're down there, hit the like button. Maybe even consider becoming a Nerf Report best friend, just like the people listed down below did. In fact, don't you want to see your name there? I know I do.